Hey, what's going on, guys? Good morning. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, the Black Business School. I want to say hello and also welcome to those of you who are tuning in from the Black Financial Channel. And I wanted to talk to you about a couple of stocks that I've read about in terms of these stocks sort of reaching the what they call the oversold capacity. Oversold is when the price starts to depress because of bad economic news, and it actually goes further than what it should go, meaning that people have really actually overreacted to something. Market reversals and overreactions and things like that are a very big deal in the stock market. They happen all the time, and there are plenty of stocks out here that are really cheap. Not because any decline means you've got cheap stocks, but this is a decline that's built on a lot of fear and a lot of panic. And that fear and panic has really opened up a lot of opportunities for buying in the stock market, according to a lot of experts. One of the stocks is Hilton, and the other one is MGM Resorts. According to the research I've been doing, these two stocks have actually really dropped a lot. And they haven't just dropped a lot like everything else. They've actually dropped to the point where the amount that they're being sold for is actually less than what they're truly valued on a fundamental level. So one of the experts here, his name is Matt Maley. I don't have his first name in front of me. He says, I think if you want to look to be bottom fishing, you might want to look in some other areas because you can still do very well in those. But he says, so Mark Tepper, though, from the CEO of Strategic Wealth Partners, says that investors should avoid the hotel space altogether, though. So there's a differing sort of set of opinions on this. That hotel stocks are not really, the best way to go because there's so much uncertainty with the coronavirus. However, there are many people who feel that there are some quality companies like Hilton and MGM that are actually being sold at a price that is much lower than what they should be sold. So Tepper says this isn't a cash flow issue. He says this is a real demand destruction. That money's gone. They're not going to recapture it 6 months from today. So he's one guy that believes that these stocks will never recover and never do very well. And I do believe there's some long-term damage. But then there are others who look at a company like Hilton and they look at MGM and they say, okay, these are strong companies that are just having a bad time. Right now, Hilton fell 5% on Thursday, and MGM plunged about 16%. And so ultimately, Maley, this other guy, he actually feels that Hilton is oversold. So he says Hilton's weekly RSI chart, I have to look and see what RSI stands for, is actually more oversold, more extreme than it was at the last two bottoms in 2018 and 2016. And so, the hard part about this corona thing is that it's hard to compare the coronavirus decline to other bear markets in the past, because other bear markets occurred for different reasons, and there's still a lot to sort of be figured out about this in terms of what it means and whether or not we should how much panicking we should actually do. I think that one of the things that's really interesting to me is that so far I haven't seen anything actually happen in the U.S. that makes the coronavirus as scary as people make it out to be. I'm not saying that it's not scary. I'm not saying that it's not bad. I'm saying that not many people have died from this. I think the number is still maybe 60 something or maybe 70 something, and 25 of those people actually died in one senior center or one senior's home or one home for disabled and people and senior citizens. So at this point, the driving force, the driving factor behind all of this has been actually fear and panic and kind of shutting down as a preventative measure. But the question becomes, so what happens when we decide that we're going to open everything up? I mean, eventually we're going to open everything up. At some point, we're going to get back to business as usual. And what does that economy look like? It won't be the same economy that you're in right now. There's some damage that's done that just won't be reversed. Some things that happen that just, won't go back to normal. It's like if you put your spouse out of the house for 6 weeks, they may not be the same person when you bring them back in that they were when you broke up with them the first time. But I do think that there's reason to think that perhaps this will be controlled. I was watching this show on Netflix last night called Pandemic, and on Pandemic they were actually talking about, I think it was the swine flu. It was, or maybe it's H5N7 or H7N5 or something like that. It was some other type of flu, and they said the mortality rate was actually 60% for this kind of flu. And they said, fortunately, it hasn't gotten outside of China. But, or maybe it was the bird flu. One of the two. It was either bird or swine, or one of the birds or one of the. I gotta go look it up. But literally, they said that the mortality rate was 60%, and I compared that to coronavirus, which has a mortality rate of what looks like maybe 1%. I think. I mean, the U.S. Maybe 2%, maybe 2.5%, right? So this isn't the end of the world. We've actually dealt with things that have a higher mortality rate. I mean, HIV's mortality rate is much higher than that. I think the difference is obviously the fact that it's easier to pass around. And the fortunate thing about this other flu that had the 60% mortality rate is that it was hard to catch. It was hard to pass around. So what's interesting to me is, I think, okay, so what happens when that other flu, that it has the 60% mortality rate, let's say it morphs itself into something that is easy to catch, easy to pass. Then that kind of says we're all in trouble, right? That says we're in big. So I think it doesn't mean 3% is not bad. Doesn't mean 3% isn't something to worry about. But it could be much worse than this. Literally, it could be 20 times higher, compared to other flus. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. And there are places that seem to have gotten it under control. And I think that we are doing. I know at the very least we know we're doing everything we can to control it. And in fact, I even go into my podcast and I ask everybody. I say, okay, we're all reacting to this virus. How many of you have a relative who has died from coronavirus? How many of you have a relative not caught it, let alone caught it? Most of you don't have anybody that's just caught it in your family. But how many of you have a relative that's actually died from it? And so I don't know. So Kevin says you're acting as if this virus has been around for years. I think it has been, actually. I think that with these viruses, just because it's a virus doesn't disappear just because it's not in the media. It doesn't not exist just because the reporters aren't talking about it. What happened to Ebola? Like, do you really think Ebola is extinct? Like, do you think? Viruses have been around long before human beings. Viruses will be around long after you're gone. Chances are, when you're gone, when you don't exist anymore, viruses are what's going to take you out. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but the scientists say, and Bill Gates said it. Now, there's a conspiracy theory to say he created all this, and I need evidence, right? But anything's possible, right? Anything's possible. But here's the thing: viruses. This virus has been around. I think a lot of these viruses have been around, and so people, what happens is if people talk about it in the media, then suddenly it becomes kind of a big thing. And I would be willing to bet you that there are things out there killing more people that aren't being discussed in the media. So for example, in Chicago. We've had a ton of people being killed through urban violence, and that's a virus that hasn't been discussed at all. But it made a lot of people scared to come to Chicago because there are some neighborhoods where you're far more likely to be shot than you are to catch a flu, right? So I'm not here to say that it's not a big deal. I'm just here to say that it wouldn't surprise me if all the panic was overblown. Even if you were in the worst countries in the world, even if you were in Italy, your chances of catching this virus are actually still pretty low. But I'm not saying that's something but you should still wipe your hands or wash your hands and all that stuff, and whatever they're telling you to do, like, do that. But I think the economic damage, I know for sure, is something that is going to stay with us long after the virus is gone. So is it a distraction? I don't know. It could be. I'm not going to say it is one way or the other, but I am going to say that if two people die from something and they report it all over the world and all the media and everybody thinks, oh my God, I could have been one of those two people, I think we have to be sort of careful about that line of thinking. In fact, it's really, if you look at the odds, you have greater odds of winning the Powerball than you do of dying from the coronavirus. I don't know if you guys know that. Like, literally, I don't know. I or maybe the odds are pretty close together. Like, I think it's 1 in 6 million chance you have of dying from the coronavirus. And maybe it's something like 1 in 100,000, 200,000 of actually catching it. So it doesn't mean you don't pay attention. It just means that maybe you should panic when you have something to panic about. Like, don't panic about the things that might be out there. Don't panic about the unknown unknowns because you don't know what they are. Panic about the things that you know. Panic about the things that really are true threats to you. So that's what it is. That's my 2 cents on it. But yeah, so those are a couple stocks I just saw that I thought were that looked like they're representing good buying opportunities. I thought I would share that with you. And make sure you subscribe to the Black Financial Channel. That's theblackfinancialchannel.com for daily financial news and commentary from a black perspective. And also, if you'd like to know more about which stocks I'm buying in my portfolio, in my Black Stock Market program, I have a section called What Dr. Boyce is Buying at the very bottom of the curriculum. So if you'd like to go sign up for that and try it out for 30 days for just $1 for the first month, feel free to go to theblackstockmarketprogram.com, THE, that's theblackstockmarketprogram.com. And of course, tonight, Monday night at midnight, we're doing our digital slumber party. Since a lot of y'all ain't got to go to work tomorrow, I thought it would be fun to get online and talk and chop it up and hang out and have some fun and learn a little bit too. So we're going to meet at midnight in a Zoom room and just be black for a little while and quarantine ourselves from all the coonery, quarantine ourselves from the racism, quarantine ourselves from the small-minded people, and really just sort of dream together and hang out together and have some fun. So if you'd like to join us, you can join for free. Go to digitalslumberparty.com. That's digitalslumberparty.com. And what are the stocks? The stocks are Hilton and MGM. Hilton and MGM. Those are the two stocks we talked about today. And again, if you want to see the rest of the stocks that I buy on a daily basis, feel free to go to theblackstockmarketprogram.com. And at the very bottom is where the section is on what Dr. Boyce is buying. But there's a ton of curriculum as well. So yeah, it's the Black Stock Market, THE, theblackstockmarketprogram.com. So take care, guys. Have a good day. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.